Welcome to Love and Abuse, the show about helping you identify poisonous communication and toxic behavior. You deserve to be treated with respect and kindness. That's why it's important that you learn to pinpoint manipulative and controlling behavior so that you keep your power and your sanity. I'm your host, Paul Coliani. Welcome to the very first episode of Love and Abuse. This episode is all about introducing you to the concept behind the show and what to expect going forward. I want you to be able to get the most information you possibly can about how your world works and the people in it and how they treat you and what is healthy treatment, what is healthy behavior, what is healthy communication. And this show is here to teach you healthy communication. And it's not about how you treat others necessarily. You're going to learn a lot about how you treat others. It's really how they treat you. And once you learn how someone treats you, especially when they treat you in a way that deceives you or makes you feel bad or makes you feel guilty or makes you feel responsible for the problems they're creating, that kind of behavior needs to be highlighted for you. That kind of behavior needs to be addressed in you so that you understand what's going on, so that you don't fall victim to any type of behavior that I consider toxic, any type of manipulation, lies and deception, emotional abuse, and we're going to learn a lot about emotional abuse in this show, and overall unhealthy communication in general. I created this show because I came up with a workbook called the Mean Workbook. And it's a workbook on helping you identify emotionally abusive behavior in your relationship. It's made for couples, but it also works for family members and friends and coworkers and things like that. But as you go through the assessment, you start to learn and understand what behaviors and what communication you're being exposed to in a relationship that is actually unhealthy and destructive to the relationship. So this introductory show is just to familiarize you with what's to come. My plan is to define all the terms of unhealthy communication, of toxic communication, so that you are able to identify it when it happens to you. I get emails and letters all the time from my other show, The Overwhelmed Brain. People write into me and ask me about relationship issues all the time. And I tell you what, I hate to say it, over 60% of the emails that I received are about emotional abuse. And it is so prevalent in our world today. At the same time, it's so unknown what it is. It's so hard to define. And it's especially hard to pinpoint in relationships. Love and abuse is not necessarily only about emotional abuse, but it is about all the forms of abuse of our language that causes people to feel bad. And that doesn't mean that if someone comes along and calls you a jerk, that's what we're going to cover, although we will talk about that in some way, shape, or form. But it's not that simple and it's not that obvious. Most of the emotional abuse issues that I hear about are under the radar. They are not seen by the outside world. You can be in a relationship with someone or know someone that is using language and doing behavior in a way that is systematically picking away at your spirit, at your very being, and you don't even realize it's happening. You get into a conversation with someone, and then you leave the conversation feeling bad about yourself, and you don't know why. And when you leave conversations feeling this way, sometimes it's hard to pinpoint exactly what happened. This is especially true in emotionally abusive relationships, where emotional abuse is the long-term effect of toxic communication that disintegrates a relationship, that disintegrates bonding, and creates a control model where one person has control of the other, and that person is usually the one that wants you to be submissive and do whatever they ask. And even when you do that, it's not good enough. So love and abuse is about helping you identify all of this behavior so that you don't get stuck in a situation or a relationship where this starts happening and you're not sure what's going on. I wish emotional abuse was overt name calling, even though that's hurtful, because it would be a lot easier to deal with. But it's not. Emotional abuse, manipulation, deception are all purposefully hidden away from your perception so that you can't tell what's going on and you can't identify behavior to the person doing it in order to let them know that what they're doing is wrong or hurtful. So if you're in a relationship where you just can't pinpoint what's going on, or you know something's wrong, but you aren't sure what it is or how to identify it, listen to this show, get the MEAN workbook over at loveandabuse.com, assess your relationship, and figure out if you're in an emotionally abusive situation that you may or may not even know you're in. And if you're not in a relationship, this show is still going to educate you to the point where you see the red flags. You don't get stuck. You don't get deceived. You don't become victim to someone else's bad behavior. I'm here to promote healthy communication. That's when you listen to each other, give each other space to express yourselves, show each other sympathy and compassion, and allow each other to be yourselves. But remember, this works both ways. If only one of you is doing your part and the other isn't, you both lose. So if you're interested in this kind of information and you want to learn more about how people can manipulate you, how people can unethically influence you and slowly chip away at who you are and take advantage of you in ways you probably don't even recognize, keep coming back. The episodes will be short and digestible and very informative, and I want you to be able to have the healthiest, happiest relationships that you can with the people in your life and not feel isolated or confused or even responsible for other people's bad behavior. And before I go, I just want to say that if you are in any type of relationship that you believe might be emotionally abusive, you are not alone. There are people out there going through what you're going through, and I understand what you're going through. Tune into the next episode and we'll start really digging into this subject. We'll talk to you soon.